Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm Jeremy,
I'm Alan.
and you are officially tuned in to the GG Dispatch each week on Tuesday, bright and early. We consolidate the week's biggest headlines in gaming news. Whether you're listening in on your commute, during your workout, or you just have us on in the background, we want to thank you for listening in. Speaking of thanks, another thank you to the kind folks at Audio Technica for providing the microphones that both Alan and I are using, the AT2020 USB-X. Whether you're just starting out on your content creator journey or you're a seasoned pro, Audio Technica has the products for you. So, what's going on, Alan? How are you? How was your weekend?
I'm doing good. Mostly I will spend my time again, kind of continuing on with the summer of soccer, watching a lot of the final games basically of the European Championship, the South American Championship. That's done with. I was playing a lot of FC 24. Of course, I'm kind of in the mood for soccer. Uh, I do have an update for my
Yes.
creative play in the career mode.
Tell me about the career that your player has now. How have things gone for your budding aspiring soccer star?
Well, our boy had a tough time. He
Oh
broke
no,
his toe.
no, his toe. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, kind of important in that sport. And he was out for like 3 months. And I've kind of
Wow.
run into the first sort of like, this is weird. Why haven't you fixed this, EA? Which is
Uh-huh.
like, as you're progressing through your career and you go, you want your team, your manager has certain expectations for you. And usually you'll get like email messages. Like if you, let's say, get a red card in a match, they'll say, hey, you can't do that. You need to remain more control. You got to be disciplined. We can't have you just missing matches like that. Um, so in this case, obviously I'm injured. So there's like a basically a little status bar, a progress bar that will tell you what your sort of placement on the team is. You can either be like a lock-in starter, you can be a substitute, or even be part of what's called like the reserve team, which means like you're not even in like the main group of players. You're just kind of like a practice squad player. And so as as he was injured and missing games, like the bar just keeps going down and down. And I'm like, hey, I'm injured. Why are you knocking me down to the to the reserve
Right.
team?
They're getting ready to put you out to pasture, like
I know, and the thing is, like, I get an email from the coach, like, I'm very disappointed in your season so far. But like, this dude is injured. How are you sending this message? But anyway, he did recover in time to help the team win the trophy, the South Korean League trophy,
nice.
and he felt disrespected. He didn't want to. He didn't
Hmm.
like that email at all. So he said, "I'm off, going back home to the US of A to play for New York City FC, which is where he's currently at now."
Okay. Okay. So you're going to help out the New York City FC, see if you can find a league that respects you more, gives you your proper due.
Exactly. Someone who's not emailing me when I'm injured, telling me how
Yeah,
disappointed they are.
it's tough. It's tough. Um, and I also heard. I mean, I'm not big into sports, but I heard that the championships over the weekend there were a lot of upsets. Like there are people who are, very concerned about or very upset that like Argentina won, I guess, and England lost, right? I didn't catch all of it, but I know there were a couple key games and people were like really worked up about it.
No. Basically, those were the final. The final in the European Championship was England versus Spain. England did lose to Spain, but Spain. They're good. They're
Sure,
world
sure.
champs too.
Okay,
So
okay,
I don't
okay.
think anybody was truly upset about that one. I think with the issue at the final for the South American one, which included Argentina and Colombia, is that like there was a big, basically chaos going
Hmm.
into the stadium. Like basically people forced their way in even without tickets, and like security was not at all prepared to handle that.
Oh wow.
So it basically they fill the stadium over capacity. People are full, like you can't even sit. It's standing room only. Like they're in the people are like blocking the stairs because like this that many people like managed to get in.
Hmm.
They delayed the game for like over an hour. Then they brought out Shakira for like a Super Bowl type performance. But like in soccer, you don't get a halftime that long. You're never, even in the World Cup, you don't do that. It's the 10 minute
Right.
halftime, and then we get back into it because that's when injuries can happen when you kind of sit down for that long. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's why you saw a lot of like concern about that Argentina Colombia game. It's just that the organizers of the tournament did a horrible job on that, and like there were like really bad scenes of people getting like crushed and stuff. It was bad.
No, no, that sucks. Well, um, yeah, I mean, if you got Shakira coming out to do a performance, I don't know if that'll necessarily help you with the objective of clearing out a stadium, um, but yeah, that sucks. I It's tough when you're in those like big stadiums. Like I get kind of vertigo. Like I've done it very rarely, but definitely been in some of those venues where the seating is like almost at like a 90-degree angle, or like 85 degrees, where it's like super straight up. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah, big time.
yeah, so I mean, I could just imagine if you're getting like pushed around by way too many people in the stands and stuff. I would not be down for that. I'd be looking for the quickest ticket out of there. Um, well, I am nearly done. I'm nearly at the end of my Elden Ring journey. I am squaring up with the final boss. I think I had warned about spoilers before, but spoiler alert for Shadow of the Erd Tree if it hasn't been spoiled for you already. Okay, so I'm squaring up with Radon, um, and in his prime, like the consort of Mekhala, and it is as tough as everybody says. So I'm in the process of going back, respecking, trying a different build uh, to knock out this final boss, and getting ready to kind of turn out the lights and close the door on Elden Ring. I'm fully ready to say goodbye to the game once I've beaten Radon, and I feel content. I'm up to about 96 hours on my original save. Um, and I've really enjoyed the whole journey. So I'm
So, do you put like any limitations on yourself while you're playing? Like, I'm not gonna do any summons. I'm gonna play this with only one hand. Like anything,
oh hell
anything
no.
like that.
No, no, no. Okay, so I tweeted about this too. I happily use summons. I find, I love when I can chat with an NPC and then I trigger their quest line so I can summon them in a boss fight, for example. So when I was at Mesmer, for example, um, I had Horn Scent, and there was one other NPC that was helping me against Mesmer, which is pretty cool. And yeah, I use my Mimic tier. Like I don't put any of those sorts of limitations against, on myself. Um, and I sleep well. I sleep comfortably doing that. Now I think we talked about this briefly before. I do think it's a bit of a bummer that there's no trophies um, for Shadow of the Erd Tree, first of all, and secondly, I think it would be cool to have additional trophies to recognize folks that are committed to that, right? Because certainly, like, I tip my hat to folks who don't use summons and they're like, no, I'm going in just me and my weapon against the world, that sort of thing. Like, more power to you. Um, and I want you to be recognized for that, and I certainly recognize you for that. You get kudos from me and a gold star. But for me, playing this game, I'm going to use all the tools at my disposal. And honestly, have been interviews with Hidetaka Miyazaki about how he plays the games, and he is admittedly a bad gamer. Like he's not very good at the games that like even he builds. And so he's like, yeah, I use everything. I use summons. I use all this stuff. I use certain weapons. And so you know what? I think to myself, if it's good enough for Miyazaki, it's good enough for me. So I definitely don't limit myself in that way. Um, but yeah, so I'm coming up to the end of my Elden Ring journey, and then back to I got Unicorn Overlord in the backlog. I've got
Grand
uh,
Theft Auto 5.
I was gonna say GTA 5. I got GTA 5 in the backlog. I got Jedi Survivor. A couple other games that are in my backlog, and I have some time because I think the next I guess the next big game that I'm waiting on, gosh, I don't even know. I think it's Dragon Quest 3 HD. Um, or maybe Echoes of Wisdom. We'll talk about Echoes of Wisdom in a second. But anyway, so I've got some games in the backlog, but and I have some runway for them, which I'm thankful for. So
But we're definitely kind of hitting a more quiet period right about now, right? For like the next month or so, I don't think there's any like huge
Yeah,
releases.
there's nothing really big on the horizon that I can think of, and that's why I'm like, yeah, I've got a bit more room to play these games. So I'm glad. I'm thankful for it. And it'll make it even more exciting when the new game comes out that I've been really looking forward to. But it's also going to be satisfying to be like, okay, cool. I'm going to check off some of this backlog off my list too. So, all right. Well, enough of that. About all of that chatter, let's dig into our stories for today. We've got 4 stories, starting with Xbox or Microsoft to increase Game Pass prices and drop day one games from the standard tier. This is from Ollie Welsh at Polygon. Microsoft has announced sweeping changes to the pricing and structure of its Game Pass subscription service. There are price hikes across the board. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate is going up to $19.99 a month, an increase of $3. And the basic console tier is to be phased out and replaced with a new Xbox Game Pass standard tier that will not include day one releases like the forthcoming Call of Duty Black Ops 6. The changes were first reported by Windows Central and confirmed by Microsoft on an official Xbox support page. Effective immediately, Xbox Game Pass for console is no longer available for new subscribers. Members who are already subscribed to Game Pass for console and have automatic payment renewal enabled will be able to continue to use it, including the access it offers to day one games. Xbox Game Pass Standard will become available to new or lapsed subscribers in the coming months. This new tier will not include any day one releases of Microsoft published games like Black Ops 6, Obsidian's Avowed, and Bethesda's Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, but it will include online multiplayer, which is currently not part of the Game Pass for console plan. Microsoft did not say how long it would take for its big first party games or other day one releases to cycle into the back catalog of hundreds of games offered on the standard tier. At $14.99 a month, it will be more expensive than Game Pass for console, which has a monthly cost of $10.99. PC Game Pass subscribers will continue to get day one games, albeit with a price increase of $2 per month. But Game Pass Ultimate is now the only option for console players who want day one releases and aren't already signed up to the existing console plan. Microsoft sources told Windows Central that the vast majority of Game Pass subscribers were already on the Ultimate tier anyway. So, Game Pass, best deal in gaming, just had a price increase. Alan, do we still think it's the best deal in gaming? What are your thoughts on this price change?
This is tough. Xbox had such a strong showing, like literally a month ago at the Xbox Game Showcase. All those incredible games coming to their platform, and they would always say it's coming with Game Pass. This is coming to Game Pass. This is coming to Game Pass. And now all of a sudden you just have like such bad vibes over the
Yeah,
brand, over these price increases. And what's really confusing to me is like, why not wait just a little bit longer? I understand what their thought process is. Their thought process is, hey, Call of Duty 6 is coming down the pike. It's going to be in Game Pass. Let's jack up the price literally a month before the release of Call of Duty, and we'll just start raking in the money. But the thing is, I think that a better strategy would have been keep things as they are for now. Let Call of Duty 6 hit. Let I believe Indiana Jones is still like scheduled to come out at the end of this year. And let that hit, and then January 1st announce that price hike. Because
right.
then
Or not even
people
January
can go,
1st, but like after those games come out, right? To be able to say, you got a couple of games in the chamber that you'll be able to enjoy what they want. And if you want to keep enjoying this, right? Like,
exactly.
here's
Like,
what you need to do.
look at how much awesome stuff we were able to put in this short amount of time, and look how much more you're about to start getting. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's a much easier sort of thing to propose to potential customers or customers that are currently on your service after you do that. Like, I don't even, it's like just giving them medicine without any kind of good chaser. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
are you doing? And it's tough. I understand that, they're trying to get back that ROI. Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, is probably hounding Phil Spencer every day
Right.
when are you gonna start bringing in more money? When's that revenue that you promised that's gonna come in? And this is the only way to really do it. And yeah, it's a much worse deal. Like standard for 15, and then the disparity between your own platform and then PC, which does get day one games for less money. That's again a really tough a tough pill to swallow for your most diehard customer. The your customer who's keeping you alive is the Xbox platform customer, not the Windows PC gaming customer.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, it's I think they definitely could have waited at least until Call of Duty. I agree with your general strategy. I think they could have at least waited for Call of Duty to come out. Again, it's still about a month out, and they could say, "Hey, you know, we love giving you all of this value with Game Pass and day one to continue to provide these great titles day one, right? Here are the changes that are coming, right? And to your point, having that calendar to be like, and if you do sign up for this increased Game Pass program, you'll get Indiana. We've got two more games coming before the end of the year, like Avowed and Indiana Jones, right? Um, and then into next year, right? Like kind of flash some of those big name titles, and I think that would go over a bit, a bit easier, a little bit easier to swallow. To your point, but to kind of make that switcheroo right before the game that arguably a lot of people, like many people, are holding their Game Pass subscription for in the first place, it's kind of leaves a bad feeling. I think it's worth noting that Windows Central had reported, or at least Microsoft sources had told Windows Central, that the majority of their Game Pass subscribers were already on Ultimate. You know, I'd like to take them that statement at face value, and I don't think it's
I don't know about that one,
surprising.
Chief.
I,
I
I mean,
really don't know about that one.
I mean, I have Ultimate. I think some folks have probably taken advantage of previous sales for like a full year or certain batches of Ultimate. So definitely, I think there's a big asterisk on that statement. Um, but that being said, yeah, I think they're probably thinking, well, most people are on Ultimate anyway, and so I mean, they're still getting a price increase though. Like you're still paying more for Ultimate now.
Yeah,
So
they also got a price increase. Also,
yeah,
like the way they sort of like I don't know, did it leak a bit early and then they kind of like scrambled to like kind of get out ahead of it or try to, because it was just so confusing. Like now all of a sudden for now you kind of have like four separate tiers with like standard like existing above console but only for new people, and then
yeah, and there's like that
things like
standard one doesn't even exist right now. Like there's not a new standard one. Like you can only, because they're waiting to release the new standard for like a month or two or something. Like they don't have it out yet. So like there is like existing standard plans, and then there's a lapse right now. So there's no way to get in at that level literally right now unless you do like the basic level or you're doing ultimate. And then there's different for PC side. It's all a mess. Like,
the
yeah.
other thing that blew my mind, but because I've been on Ultimates from the jump, is that like on the console Game Pass, that didn't include Xbox Live. Like you still had to pay Xbox Live separately to play online, which I thought it was just like a whole deal together, which kind of blew my mind. I was like, wait, what? That's
Yeah.
insane. Uh,
Yeah.
but also the fact that when they made this announcement, they're like, "Oh, if you're on console, you're grandfathered in." I thought like, "Oh, that's cool. You're giving your OGs like a break, right? Like they're going to be able to keep staying on that 1099 plan." But it's only until September once the new standard kicks in, or the standard will already be around for like a month or two. So then everyone gets moved into the standard. They haven't done so already, which also sucks. I think you could have done, or at least let them stay for another year at 1099 for the console side. Something.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I don't know.
It's a mess.
Yeah, it's a mess. And honestly, like, um, I'm not sure. I mean, Microsoft has struggled a lot, obviously, in the last couple of months with, like we were talking about, general reputation, vibes, etc. And then, yeah, they had that really great showcase, and people were super excited. And I was thinking, like, man, I need to go get an Xbox Series X or something, and really get the most out of my Ultimate Game Pass subscription.
On this
Um,
very podcast, you were like, "I think I'm gonna go get an X after
yeah,
that strong
yeah.
game show."
I mean, and
Going.
honestly, it's still there because, like, I was able to buy 2 years of Ultimate like 6 or 8 months ago, um, and I got it through a deal through somebody who works at Microsoft. Um, and I'll just leave it at that. But anyway, so I got a really good deal on Ultimate, so I want to make the most use out of it. But now I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, is it going to continue to offer that value? And I think a lot of gamers who are paying it month to month um, are going to have to lapse those subscriptions, right? It's going to be a bit harder for them to maintain it month over month. They might just reactivate it when there is more of like that batch of games coming out in quick succession, right? Um, versus kind of holding it through, a longer portion of the year, which, again, if would bring more value to Xbox if they had kind of like sat back and done the math and been like, okay, if we keep it at a lower price, more people will maintain the subscription all year long. If we increase the price, how many are we going to lose? How many are we going to lose, not just like all the time, but how many are we going to lose for 2 months out of the year, 3 months out of the year, 4 months out of the year, 6 months out of the year, right? Um, and does it make up for it? So
Yeah, because
again,
the thing
you
about
hope that
like
they're like the bean
subscription
counters are
service,
back to doing that. You hope that they figure that out, but I don't know if they've done all that calculations.
yeah, because the thing about the subscription service is supposed to be like a steady source of revenue every month. People are in, they're good, they're happy, and you keep getting that money every month. But if all of a sudden you start getting all that churn, will they be able to kind of keep the ship steady, so to speak? Also, it just like it's amazing how their words just can be used so against them so easily. Like when they closed down Hi-Fi Rush, the people like got clips of the documentary. I think it was like Power On with Xbox or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Of like, oh yeah, we learned lessons about how you integrate, new teams after a takeover and stuff. And in this case, they literally told the FTC like, hey, we're not going to increase prices to Game Pass after this acquisition of Activision. And like here they are, you know,
Yeah,
a
well, it probably
year
was
and
like,
a half
we're
ish
not going to
later doing
increase
just that.
prices. Yeah, we're not going to increase prices for a certain amount of time, and maybe they're they're right at the day or something like that. They're looking at their contract like, oh, we can raise the prices now, and so they roll it out. Anyways, so this article or this kind of continues over at Game Rant. Gabriel Machado Pereza wrote, "Analyst prediction is more bad news for Xbox Game Pass subscribers. New
Yay.
Yay! New reports indicate that Xbox Game Pass could have even more price hikes or new tiers appearing sometime in the future. According to some industry analysts, the need to capitalize on Xbox Game Pass after the purchase of Activision Blizzard may push Xbox to raise prices even more if subscription numbers don't increase over time. Last week, Microsoft announced several huge changes to Game Pass, increasing the price of Ultimate, etc., etc. Earlier this week, IGN talked to experts such as Empire Analysis Piers Harding Rolls, Circana's Matt Piscatella, and Game Discover Co.'s Simon Carlos, who share their opinions about Game Pass's future. These analysts agree that it's possible that the Xbox Game Pass could see even more price increases in the future or create new subscription tiers as Microsoft continues to pursue economic growth. Harding Rolls, for example, argues that the cost of making games has greatly increased recently, and that there is a big cost associated with putting titles such as Call of Duty on Game Pass. Piscatella points out that the general subscription market has flattened in the last few years, especially after the pandemic, which diminished previously growing profits. Um, Carla states that Xbox needs to increase its profit by either volume or yield, meaning that if the number of subscriptions is not going, the price may inevitably go up. According to Harding Rolls, however, nothing is set in stone yet. Microsoft is planning to release a mobile-focused version of Xbox Game Pass, which could potentially be a game changer, and the expert estimates that Game Pass will become more profitable in the future due to the recent price increase. In the best-case scenario, this could prevent more price increases. Regardless of what may happen in the future, there's a growing sentiment among gamers that Microsoft could have handled the price hikes better. Xbox Game Pass was often considered the best deal in gaming, but that image has become weaker recently. Besides the recent price increases, part of the issues many gamers have are related to their confusing marketing. Previously, the company promised it wouldn't increase prices after the acquisition, like you're mentioning, right, Alan? Also, there's no consensus on when first-party Day One games will hit the Xbox Game Pass standard, as Xbox only indicated that Day One games will include on a case-by-case basis, taking between 6 months to, quote, more time, end quote, to be included in the service. So, anyways, more uncertain news. Of course, it's sort of like Business 101. You might read that article and be like, well, duh, like, breaking news, business may charge more for existing services in the future. Like, yeah, like, welcome to capitalism. But I think it is still something to be said that, it is currently a deal. Like, even now, even after the price increases and stuff, there's still a large library of games there. They've got a lot of Day One games coming, so the argument could still be made that people are still kind of warm to it even after the initial sort of like sour grapes, right? But how long will that last, right? Where is that inflection point between the prices rising and the subscribers ultimately saying, no, this isn't worth it for me anymore, and kind of going from there. So I don't know how much longer we're going to have Game Pass. And the other thing too is, if we're moving away from this physical media system, right? If a year of Ultimate is $240, right? Maybe you get it on sale for $220, $215, right? And you're looking at the games and you're like, well, I'd spend $300, right? I'm going to spend $300 this year anyways on the 5 games that I want. For Xbox, it makes sense for me to stick with that subscription, right? So again, like, managing that inflection point, managing the balance between folks looking for like physical games versus streaming their games in a library. It's just a matter of where that tipping point is for gamers, and what their
Yeah,
budget
it's
is.
tough. Like for me as an Ultimate customer, what worries me the most is like the introduction of new tiers. Like because for now, like you and me are safe in the quote unquote maximum Ultimate tier, but like nothing's stopping them from bringing over like Ultimate Plus and Ultimate Pro Plus, and all of a sudden our Ultimate tier is not so ultimate, and we're just gonna end up getting forced to go up in the price ladder. um, the other thing that worries me is that like I feel like a big part of why Xbox has even done as well as it has, which has not been super awesome, is because of Game Pass. When they had that document leak back in I think it was like a year and a half ago ish, when they had the whole merger thing with the FTC, the documents got leaked by accident, and it showed that roughly they're kind of split in terms of Xbox Series S and X. Is S is like 75%. And I would gather that most of those jumped in because of Game Pass. So it worries me that the thing that helped get them to be to where they are today, they might be killing it themselves. All because they went after and got Activision. I can't help but feel like if they didn't do the merger, they'd be in such a much better place right now. And they wouldn't be having to make all these moves that people hate. And you know you can even I even wonder, like, because we still haven't seen a price drop on any of these consoles, like an official price. We see some sales, but nothing like, oh, it's now $100 off, that's a starting price.
Yeah,
And I wonder
yeah,
if even if like that acquisition of Activision, if that's even preventing them from doing that, because that's I've been seeing a lot of articles about how console sales are struggling, but like by this point in the life cycle, they would all be having price cuts. Even the Switch, like that's still $300, is the same as what it launched at. Like that should be 200 by now if we were going by a traditional sort of console life cycle. So I do wonder if the Activision is taking away their competitive. The Activision acquisition is taking away their competitiveness in both how they work Game Pass and as well as their pricing on all their consoles. And like how much trouble is that ultimately going to get them in of having gotten that acquisition?
yeah. Yep. We'll see. All right. Link. Oh, sorry. Excuse me, Princess. Link will be playable in Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. So says the ESRB. This is again from Ollie Welsh over at Polygon. It's not often that Link's gallantry is called into question, but today is one of those sad days. After 38 years of hogging the limelight, the hero in green has finally ceded the starring role in the Legend of Zelda game, the next Legend of Zelda game, to Princess Zelda herself, who will be the playable protagonist of The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. But mere weeks after her big moment was announced, it's been revealed that Link just couldn't help himself and is crashing Zelda's party. He'll be playable in the game too. The news has emerged from an ESRB listing for the game. Rating the game E for everyone, the ESRB noted this is an adventure game in which players assume the role of Zelda as she attempts to dispel rifts through Hyrule and rescue Link. From a 3/4 overhead perspective, players explore various environments while fighting stylized enemies. Then the ESRB dropped the bombshell. As Link, players use a sword and arrows to defeat enemies. Zelda can use a magic wand to summon creatures, like wind-up knights, pay soldiers, and slime for battle. In all seriousness, this is hardly a surprise and doesn't necessarily mean Link will be playable for much of the game. Nintendo's announcement trailer for Echoes of Wisdom starts with a sequence in which Link battles past some soldiers on a quest to rescue Zelda and confronts Ganon, but then Link falls into a mysterious rift, and then Zelda has to go and rescue him. So it's likely that you're going to play as Link in the opening part of this game, and that's why the ESRB has to describe it like that, and then he gets spirited away and locked away, and then Zelda is the main character for most of it. Or after you beat it, you can do New Game Plus with Link, or some combination of the two. So, anyways, if you are looking forward to Echoes of Wisdom, again, this was one of those shockers that came out of the Nintendo Direct not too long ago, which definitely was a crowd pleaser with Metroid Prime 4 and all that other good stuff. But not just Zelda, Link will be there too.
So do you think we could get maybe a surprise twist where you can kind of control them both, like switch between them at will, and just do a bunch of wild stuff with Zelda, like bringing in chairs and tables, and all of a sudden Link is jumping off of that? Do you think we could get something that
That would be
sort
cool.
of surprising, or do
I
you
would
think
be
it will
down.
be more of a vanilla, like I start as Link and then I go to Zelda and then that's the game?
I mean, I could totally see that happening. I think that's a great idea. And yeah, it's totally possible. I would hope for that, really, like that you could use Zelda's powers to kind of set Link up to cross, chasms and that sort of thing, or reach areas that he can't normally reach, and that Link can do certain things and like help get Zelda in certain areas. So, um, certainly, I think that'd be a great combination of the two. I think the more likely option is going to be something that I mentioned earlier. It's probably going to be, here's Link's version of the story, or portion of the story, and then it goes to Zelda, or Link Zelda for the most of it, and then Link at the end, or Link Zelda through all of it, and then New Game Plus can be Link throughout, or Zelda throughout. So yeah,
Oh, do you think that on New Game Plus they'll hey, how about Zelda with a bow and arrow and a sword?
maybe. I mean, I don't know. That would be cool. Or spoiler, or not spoiler, but Sheik. Like you can play, like Zelda can transform into Sheik, like in the ninja form, and you can get a different kind of move
Oh
set.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That'd be
That'd be
fun.
cool.
So we'll see. I mean, I'm sure Nintendo will meet our expectations for this game and for its beloved IP. So um, I'm looking forward to it. It's one I'm looking forward to spending some time with, and one of those games that are coming out later this year to look forward to. So, all right, last story for today. Pokemon Go's big weekend accidentally reminded us the game used to be fun. This is by John Walker at Kotaku. This weekend may have been deranged on previously unexplored levels, but it was also GoFest in Pokemon Go, the annual event when the mobile game reminded its millions of players why they used to love playing. This year, as the app reaches new nadirs of money-grubbing banality, the event's terrific execution had the unintended consequences of starkly highlighting where the game goes so wrong the rest of the time. GoFest has been hit or miss over the last few years, from the absolute disaster of 2021's, an event built around the excitement of encountering Hoopa for the very first time, that then, incredibly, never actually featured Hoopa, to the wonderful closing third day of 2022's that finally gave people a reason to gather safely in public with its celebration of Ultra Beasts and Shaman. Last year's was somewhere in the middle, a bland, dreary event that felt like a reluctant addition to the local live events that had taken place in just 3 cities in the world, which ended in anticlimactic nothingness. So 2024's far more straightforward affair, with no elaborate twists or surprise fake endings, somehow felt like a win. And when it ended, it sent the game crashing back to its current dire state. The theme for 2024 rather smartly picked up on 2022's better approach, with a wealth of Ultra Beasts for players to win from raids, many available in shiny forms for the first time, alongside a story that resolved with you able to merge Necrozma with Solgaleo or Lunala to create Duskmane and Dawnwings, respectively. This was a replication of events that took place in 2017's Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and tied in neatly to 2022's Cosmog events that allowed longer term players to create both variants while still letting noobs create at least one. Which made for a nice change, bothering to remember people who have played the game for more than a month. On top of this, for the first time in so long, the game felt mildly generous. The starkest downturn in Pokemon Go in the last year, following many years of disastrous choices that saw the game shedding players during COVID, has been just how much more unpleasantly grifty it has become. In a way that the game once stood out for not doing, Niantic changed feature after feature to start costing money, or cost more money, nickel and diming you at every turn at the same time as firing swaths of their employees. What were once regular freebie tasks and quests that motivated you to keep playing now cost anywhere from, seemingly at random, $2 to $10 to take part in. Remote raiding, an essential part of the game during COVID, became core to the experience, so Niantic hiked the prices while reducing the efficacy. And on, icky choices that have made it a sadder and sadder experience. However, this weekend at least, the game didn't feel quite so stingy. Sure, the $15 entry fee feels like a big spend for a mobile game, especially when it could be bolstered by a further $5 more for Ultra Beast shenanigans, but discovering that items the game usually hands out stingily as if they were ruby encrusted diamonds, like golden raspberries, being thrown at players in fistfuls, created a different atmosphere. Having rationed mine so carefully, I went into the event with about 30. I now have 242. The same was true for local raid passes, star pieces, and even rare candy, the magical items that help you evolve any Pokemon type. The article kind of continues and basically just kind of highlights how, the Pokemon Go could be better, and, kind of lamenting the dark, or not dark, but rather the kind of steady decline that it's had in the last 8 years since its inception. Alan and I, we were talking just before the pod came on. July 2016 is when Pokemon Go launched, the summer of Pokemon Go, as many of us fondly remember it, when world peace was just this close. And yet, and now here we are, right? To this article's, point, it's become this very micro transaction-y experience that might encourage you to do some walking if you have enough incubators and stuff for your eggs and stuff like that. But otherwise, it's gotten really kind of nickel and diming and just not as fun as it used to be. So, are you into this, Alan? Like, do you play Pokemon Go? Did you get into it back in 2016?
I did get back into it in 2016. It was a lot of fun, a lot of good times with friends and family. But like these days, definitely no. I haven't played in a while. I kind of just moved on and started playing other stuff. But it doesn't surprise me that they ended up kind of taking this path, because probably as their user base got smaller, they needed to find kind of like Game Pass, try to find new ways to get as much money out of that sort of like limited pool of users.
Yeah, and it's fascinating to me though, because they have this built-in fan base of the Pokemon fans in general, right? And then they have the sort of expanded base of folks who enjoy mobile games, and sort of like the unique elements that Pokemon Go brought with, like the walking around and the capturing of animals and like everything else, like almost to a point where like they could get on a regular sort of quarterly schedule of like like a season pass. You know what I mean? Like they could do a season pass sort of structure, and I feel like that would be more palatable for most of the Pokemon Go community than this like 99 cents here, $2 here, $3 here, approach. They could charge 15 or $20 or, whatever the number they end up deciding, right? And for any given quarter, and they can be like, cool, go have fun. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah, it sounds like that would make it a more enjoyable experience while they get the money that they're looking for. Because I mean, like when you do consider that IP and then just how many people like playing mobile games, like they should be a home run, really.
yeah, although I mean, I haven't read any like studies on this or anything, but I'm sure there's something to be said about the nature of microtransactions and pricing. Like there's something psychological about something being 99 cents, right? Like in this economy, what's 99 cents anymore? Nothing. But if you can buy 500 crystals for 99 cents, you're like, 99 cents, that's cheap. That's no problem. You just happen to do that 2 to 3 times a day. You know what I mean? Like that, it can just like kind of stack up like that. So, I mean, I'm sure that that's exactly why they're doing this, because the smaller amounts enable them to have more transactions in general. But I do think to take a step back and say, okay, if we shifted to this more like battle pass or season pass sort of approach, who could we bring back into the fold, and would they engage with the game enough to make up for it, right? Would, if we got a million regular players at $15 a quarter, right, is that going to make us more money than our constantly dwindling player base that might be spending a bunch of money because they're paying $1 every few hours to get crystals or whatever, or expand their inventory? Like, what's the net? Where's the break even there? And I think that would be a better model, but I'm not in charge. So, if Niantic, if you're listening, give me a call. Free consultation. All right. What kind of deals do we have out there in the world, Mr. Allen?
So basically, I just want to let everybody know to remind everyone that Prime Day deals is coming up, and then basically all of the retailers, so Target, Best Buy, Walmart, work to basically try to compete with Amazon during those days. Right now, I haven't seen anything that like blows me away. They're kind of just like, oh, $39.99 for like first party Switch titles, which is nice. If there's been a game you kind of had your eye on, but you don't want to quite pay the full price, now's a good time to maybe check that out, especially now. During this time of year was a little less going on game wise. The one that is sticking out to me though is Woot. So Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Last I checked, I don't know if it'll still be live or available when some of you listen to this, but 3 months of Xbox Ultimate for $34.99, and if you order through the Woot app on your mobile device, that takes another 10% off, which comes down to about $31.49 ish. So about that works out to about $10 a month. Like at that price point, I would say for Ultimate, if you can, try to stack up like a year or two if you're able to.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that sounds like a great deal, especially given all the news that we've had today. So, yeah, sounds like a good deal. And of course, with the Switch titles, $39.99, Nintendo. That's about as good as it's going to get for a lot of those. So,
Yeah, yeah.
if there's a title that's being featured, definitely pick it up.
Yeah, like actually one of the ones that stood out to me for Nintendo wise was the Super Mario RPG, like that remake that they came out, I think it was last year.
Oh,
It's
nice. Yeah,
$39.99. I think it's the lowest I've seen it so far.
nice. All right. Well, that's everything from us today, ladies and gents. So until next time, I'm Jeremy.
I'm Alan.
Keep gaming, everybody.
See ya.